Alright guys, so now we actually have a Warlock Legendary card, which revolves very much around the whole Lackey concept. And this is rather interesting in several regards, both because it's actually something that is utilized just a little bit already in the Zoolock archetype, which is currently played in Standard. And the effect that Dark Fairy Tucan has is actually really powerful. So if you look at the base stats of the cards, it's a 5 mana 4/4, which is not great, but then it has an instant effect through the battle cry. And for the rest of the game, after you play Dark Fairy Tucan, your lackeys are 4/4 minions. We have to go back until Ongoro, where the Rogue quest, which was actually nerfed 3 times, that effect when after you played, was it the same card 5 times? If you done that, then all your minions would be 4/4 minions. And this is a narrower band of activation because it's only the lackeys. But that quest, as I mentioned, was nerfed 3 times in order to get to a somewhat adequate power level in the game. Therefore, this effect is really powerful when you can build around it. You can include much more lackeys. There'll be neutral minions which drop lackeys and all this kind of stuff. So actually, I think this is a powerful play around. And I was kind of debating with myself if this should be a 5-star card. A few considerations to make about the lackeys is that it's going to be a stated 4/4 minion, which means that you cannot buff it. So for instance, if you have an ethereal lackey on board and you put a goblin lackey down, they will both be 4/4. And if you target the goblin lackey on the ethereal lackey, then it will get rush, but will not get the +1 attack, because it's a 4/4 minion. The only way that this changes is if the minion is damaged, then it does not stay at the 4/4 mark. But you cannot buff it above the 4 attack or the 4 health. Also with Dark Fairy Tucan, it was revealed that we'll get a new lackey type called Titanic Lackey, which you can see just a little bit down here. It has the battle cry of giving a friendly minion +2 health and taunt, and in this regard, with the 4/4 stat line, then we'll just get the taunt, not the +2 stats on health. But generally, that's actually a rather powerful effect, that you get 2 additional stats. And this is, of course, a card that will be added to the pool of lackeys, not just something that is related to Dark Pharaoh Tucan in any way. When the rotation hits, this will be a new lackey type available to be dropped together with the rest of the lackeys as well. So rather interesting, and a very powerful lackey, somewhat powerful lackey. It's not towards the top end of the lackey pool, but it's situationally even better than the other lackeys. Sometimes you just need a little bit more health, and putting a taunt in the way. So that's actually quite fine. In Arena, I'm not going to use too much time on it. I think it's an okay card. You will get lackeys. It's just Rise of Shadows, which is the other lackey expansion, will not be part of the first rotation, at least, within Arena. Therefore, it might even be weaker there. And if Rise of Shadows is included, there will be 2 rotations for each and every expansion in the Arena. And if Rise of Shadows is included, of course, it will increase the power level, but you won't see legendaries all that much. But you need, of course, a little bit of lackey synergy, albeit not a lot, and then it's worth running. It's not a great card in Arena. But almost a 5-star card. A really, really good card, the way I see it. The next one is the Desert Spear. It was a card revealed by Regis Kilbin. Funny guy, a great channel. It was actually quite a fun reveal that he did. But talking about the card, it is a 3 mana, 1 damage, 3 charges hunter weapon, and whenever you attack with the weapon, you summon a 1/1 locust with rush. A locust, as you can see here, is just a 1 mana 1/1 beast with the only special effect of the rush. There was a card called Piranha Launcher. That was a 4 mana 2/4, which generated a 1/1 piranha, a fish, a beast, which had no effects other than being summoned. This is kind of where I'm doing my comparison a little bit. That card was tried to see some kind of play. It just didn't really pan out. And I think this is going to be a little bit of the same challenge for the Desert Spear. It might be something that you have rush on the locusts, therefore meaning that you will get something out of there's different synergies, like a Cult Master. You can hit into something and then the locust hits into another thing and then you draw a card. Or there's the obvious synergy between the hyena, where that one grows. There's some examples of Unleash the Hounds hyena synergies right now, where you can actually build a big enough hyena that some decks in the meta cannot answer that specific threat, and it might find a home there. I just do not think, if you compare Unleash the Hounds as a 3 mana card which spawns a lot of minions to this one, which essentially deals 2 damage and grows your hyena just by 1. I don't think that's enough. It might be, but I don't think it is going to be supporting that game plan enough, if that's going to be the game plan. However, in Arena, this effect, also Piranha Launcher in Arena, was a great card. And I would also say Desert Spear is really a great card in Arena. Just having that, generally weapons that you in Arena are really powerful. And when you have more initiative, you can actually split damage and so on. In the Arena, that's really a powerful effect. It's not. If it had a different stat line, it would be completely crazy. For instance, if it were 2 damage instead of a 1/3, it would definitely be a 5-star card. And I think it is something that you will definitely opt for whenever you when you have an Arena. It's a really powerful card. So that's something to look out for, and you won't be sad if you draft it in the Arena. Next up, we have a warrior weapon called Live Wire Lance. So Dr. Boomer has put some power to a lance. It's a very, very powerful card. It's going to be it's after your hero attacks, you add a lackey to your hand. This actually seems to be kind of a different way of playing. Right now, it's very much the bombs and the control warrior that is focused on at the moment. But I think there's actually the potential here for a more Zoo-like type of play with the warrior. And that's going to be interesting, because the weapons in warrior definitely can support a game plan where you remove your opponent's threats, you build the board, and you go face. There's been the pirate warrior in the past, which had a good amount of success and actually went to a lot of tournaments and finished, and you ended up winning with these decks. So it's actually something which is has been viable in the past, a more aggressive build on the warrior. Whether it's going to be good enough, I don't know, but it's definitely something. If you look at the card's power potential, it's definitely there, and it is something that can support it. And it is also potentially just something that you can put in a deck to have kind of these random synergies which might support something or drive a win out of a different situation than that you were able to. If, for instance, there's a lot of aggro decks, you might still have a control deck, but the Livewire Lance will give you some options dealing with the early game boards. I think it's definitely something that is we will see. People will experiment with it, and if the right fit is there, it's going to be a staple in a deck. I definitely think this is a really powerful card. Looking over to Arena, this is completely crazy. You will always want to draft this. Just having this recurring effect. You also say, by the way, you can build, if you really want the lackeys, you can actually build a deck where you can enhance the charges of the weapon. That's something Warrior can actually do, so you can get a bunch of lackeys, several more than you can actually do in some of the other classes. So this is this is really good. And in Arena, as I mentioned, just getting the lackeys there are so powerful. And weapons are also in general powerful, and just having that additional stat, those additional 2 attack, that's quite good. So it's definitely a very powerful card in Arena, and I think something that is good enough that we will see to a wide extent used in Constructed as well. We actually have the Warrior quest coming up, called Hack the System, and as all the quests are, you get it in get it in the starting hand, and you or you can mulligan it, of course, and then you will draw it later on. The quest in itself, is satisfied when you've attacked 5 times with your hero. And the reward is a new hero power called Arafat's Core, and it's a 2 mana hero power which summons a stone golem. And the hero power refreshes once once you attack. So, for instance, if you have the Livewire Lance that we just went through, you use Arafat's Core, you attack with a weapon, and then the hero power refreshes, and you get another Stone Golem. The Stone Golem in itself is a 3 mana 4/3, with no additional stats in any way or form. But the power level of the hero power that you get is really good, but it's a very different way of playing Warrior than the control one. Therefore, you are really interested in getting a new kind of playstyle, which is kind of maybe the Zoo. Maybe you will see an aggressive kind of build on the Warrior. This will definitely support that, for sure. If it's going to be good or not, gets to be seen, but the power level of the quest is definitely there. In the Arena, it's not going to be there, therefore I do not rate it any stars, but I think it'll be 4 stars in the Constructed play mode. The next one we have is Sunstruck Henchman. So this poor guy, a 4 mana 6/5. So if you look at the stats, it's really powerful stats for 4 mana. But he has the effect at the start of your turn, there's a 50% chance to fall asleep. This essentially is the summoning sickness that you have whenever you play the card. So you know you're not going to use this card on the first turn that you drop the card. The next turn, there's a 50% chance or a 50% chance that you might be able to use it. And that is of course not good. Whenever you have a potential threat on the board, you want to be able to utilize it. So if it had some kind of redeeming effect, saying that it would have taunt, then your opponent would need to punch through it or silence it in order to go through and do something on the other side. Right now it's just going to sit there, and half the time you're not going to be able to use it yourself, and your opponent can just risk saying, well, I don't mind too much, I won't do anything. The ogres in the past has been where they also have a 50% chance of hitting the wrong target. At least you would be able to manipulate the board in order for you to always go face, or that you say, well, if I hit this one or this one, then that's perfectly fine. If I don't hit any of those minions, I know my minion will go face. That's not a way for Sunstroke Henchmen that you can manipulate the board. The only way for this one to be good is that you have some kind of silence effect, and that you see the power level of the card to be good enough to be used, which I don't think it is. I think it's more of a pack filler, meaning that it's a card that will be there. Sometimes it'll be generated from piloted shredder, something like that, or it'll be generated as a 4-cost minion, who knows, and then it might be good. So it's good that it exists in the game. It'll make for some fun things. Just, no, please wake up, then I have lethal, or whatever might be the case. And so in Constructed, you have a chance to make it work. It's probably not going to be the case, so therefore I give it 2 stars. And generally, if you look at Arena, then a heavily statted, or a minion with more stats than the vanilla test actually states. So this would, for instance, be a Sunstroke Henchman. It would be kind of an okay-ish 4-drop if it were just 4 mana 4/4. And it would be kind of okay. Maybe a little bit worse than the average 4-drop. The average 4-drop would be a 4 mana 4/5 or 5/4. But this would actually be good stats. But that you cannot affect the board with a card that you invested in and put there, there's half the time you won't be able to do that, then that is really awful. So I'm a bit harsh on the Arena side, but it will lose you games if you invest trust in making the Sunstroke Henchman a part of your deck. I think I will try it. It's going to be interesting to see which other cards it's going to be grouped up against, but I simply do not see this one working in the Arena, and as I mentioned, you will lose games to this, not when your opponent drops it, but if you drop it, if you play this minion in your deck, it will cost you more than it will allow you to win. It was hard enough to make the ogres with a 50% chance of hitting something work, but at least there was a possibility. Just this one will half the time sit there and do nothing. That will be game losing, definitely. You cannot afford to skip turns in Arena, therefore this is a 1-star card. Okay, this next one is completely insane. So this is the Plague card for Warrior. This is just what the control class needed. So this one, the effect is, it's of course, as all plagues are, it affects all minions on the board. It's a dual-sided effect at least. So when this is played, all damaged minions will be destroyed. Like what was that? There was a dinosaur in Ungoro. Whenever you drop that, then all damaged minions would also be destroyed. So it's kind of that effect. But you are the one that gets to dictate this. So for instance, if you're a control class, there's an inherent challenge with another 5 mana card, which is removal. For instance, Brawl. Brawl always leaves up a minion. And how many times haven't you sit there and, oh, as long as it's not Antonidas which survives, and then it's Antonidas which survives. So there's some really tough moments in there where you say, well, I really need to make sure that this minion specifically does not get to survive this. And this is actually just if you get to remove maybe 1 or 2 minions, key minions, on your opponent's side, that's good enough. That's a perfect Plague of Wrath. And you don't mind investing a few of your minions or a little bit of a life total, or maybe even a Whirlwind card, in order to make sure that everything is removed on the board. Therefore, this is definitely in Constructed something that supports the control archetype, and it's going to be interesting to see. There's not a lot of room in the deck right now, but it's going to be an interesting inclusion of something that we tried out, but I think it will be powerful. Looking over to Arena, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be completely crazy. If you just... An Assassinate is such a good card in Arena. So if you just get... And that's a 5-mana destroyer minion. This could be the same. Sometimes you might even get 2 minions out of a 5-mana investment. That's really crazy. So if you have just a few lackeys left over, bump into a few cards that you want to have removed, drop the Plague of Wrath, boom, you're done. That's such a good effect in the Arena, and it's quite low rarity as well. It's only a rare card. It's something that you will see. It's going to be in a high bucket, so it's going to be competing against different high tier cards. But it's definitely a contender that you would want to have in a deck in order for you to do a massive swing on the board. I really think this is going to be an insane card in both play modes. So very interested. It will be very interesting to see how this actually works out. And just also having a weapon class like Warrior, where you can target with your weapon and then you drop your Plague of Wrath and then you destroy that minion. That's really good. So great card. Is going to support the control archetype. I'm not sure it needed more help, but there we are. And in Arena, good on Warrior. It's going to be an excellent card there for sure. Okay, this section will be rounding off with a neutral legendary, which is just crazy to behold. A Reborn card with the new mechanic Reborn. It's going to be a 10 mana 10/10 card with Divine Shield and Reborn. And if you end up killing the minion, so you punch through all its life, it will be returned as a 10 mana 10 and then 1 health left, but with Divine Shield as well. So this is definitely a minion which is tough to punch through. But funny enough, it's probably because it's this heavy, and even though it is a powerful card, I do give it 3 stars in Constructed, as it's great to have in the pool of 10 drops. But it's definitely not something that you want to wait until turn 10, because a lot of the games are settled at that point in time, and if it's not, then your opponent in Constructed will have a bunch of resources to take care of the Colossus. But again, it's great that it's there. A concern, or a rather significant buff, the way I see it, to Conjurer's Calling Mage, or Mana Cyclone Mage, or whatever you like to call it, because they've been starting to run the Sea Giant against the aggressive decks. So having a rather cheap Sea Giant, and then you put a Conjurer's Calling on that one, and then you spawn 2 Colossus of the Moon in early turns, that's going to be backbreaking to deal with for the more aggressive decks. But I guess that's just the way it is, and it's an interesting card, definitely. If it'll be running decks, I don't think so. It might be, who knows, but I can't see a way that it exactly fits somewhere right now. If we look over to Arena, it's an okay card. It's something. It's a powerful card. That's why I give it the 4 stars. It's just, you need to be somewhat ahead for you to drop this card, because you are investing. It's one card. It's a full investment in the card, and of course it's sticky because you'll get the reborn effect on the card. So even if your opponent assassinates this one, you still have to invest 2 more cards, or ping and another card, in actually getting rid of the Colossus, which is good. It's just a little bit too easy to play around. If you would play Colossus of the Moon against me as a player, I would spread out on the board. It doesn't have tone, it doesn't have a way to stop your aggression, and then I'll just run past it, and you'll be left with trying to, either you need to finish me and make sure that there's no taunts in the way. You need initiative cards in order to do that, or you'll just be standing there pounding the individual minions with a huge one, and I'll just be picking your face with a very broad board, and you invested 10 mana in just this one card, which can do 1 attack at a time. So, as a warning, how to play around this: maybe do not invest too much in the card. Just make sure that you start to present the lethal opportunities against your opponent, and then leave the card. And if you're at all possible, in all possibility you can maybe freeze it, you can put taunts in the way, stuff like that. Trade the board in order for you to get a favorable condition on the board, but do not invest everything in getting rid of the card. That will make sure that you come up as the winning side. And for you, if I'm the one dropping the card, I will feel quite bad about it, unless I am somewhat ahead and I have more minions on the board, I have spells to come back. Then it's actually a good card in the arena. But it's something that can lose you games if you're not really careful about how you play it. What a powerful card! I agree completely. A rather big investment. An awesome card. We do not see a lot of these cards, and it's actually a fun one. I think this is going to be a interesting card to see in the game, and how that actually works. So guys, that was actually it. I have more review videos coming up, trying to keep up. I'm not at all there, so bear with me. I will do my very best to get some more stuff done, and review some more cards. Again, this is just my take on it. If you have different views, something I might have forgotten, more aspects, if you want to hear me talk about the cards in a different way, just post a comment. I'll read through them, and if you do like it, give me a thumbs up. It really helps. It's something that is great for me, great feedback, and see you in the next card review video.